Hello everybody, in this video we're going to be reading the Dunkelzahn's will, which, if you don't know who Dunkelzahn is inside of Shadowrun, he's basically the dragon who became president of UCAS, I believe it is, the United Confederate American States. So, from what I hear, his will is pretty funny and it's long as hell, so this may be quite a long video, but mostly it's for those who want to have commentary and a little bit of audio over it rather than reading it directly. So feel free to read along on shadowrun.wikia.com/wiki/Dunkelzahns with the apostrophe _will. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. I, Dunkelzahn, ... being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament. In an effort to get to the good stuff that we're all interested in hearing about, in other words, who gets what, I have skipped over all of the legal mumbo-jumbo that every such document includes and cut right to the bequests. Because the will consists mostly of short bequests to a broad variety of individuals, I have kept the file read-only in order to keep it from getting cluttered with a lot of babble. Discussion of the will can be posted in the related SIG linked to this file. Once in that area, keep your posts related to the topic at hand or they will be nuked without mercy. This is your only warning. Captain Chaos. Transmitted on 15 August 2057 at 12:46:19 EST. On the execution of my will. I have managed to accumulate considerable possessions over the course of my lifetime, almost against my will. That, I suppose, is the nature of dragons, to acquire and accumulate physical representations of our long memories and pasts. We are sentimental creatures at heart. I have yet to know a dragon who can simply throw away anything possessing even the smallest amount of meaning to him. To see to the Herculean task of administering my ridiculous vast estate, and assure that my wishes are carried out, I authorize my executor, Naja Davier, to use what funds are necessary from the balance of my estate for the establishment of the Draco Foundation. The Foundation will have a board of trustees consisting of Miss Davier and 6 others to be appointed by her. The trustees will oversee the administration of the foundation and the execution of my last wishes as described in my will. I suppose it is necessary that I acknowledge how dramatically I have broken from the traditions of my race by arranging for my effects to be distributed according to my instructions. I will say that this is an eminently sensible idea that I borrowed from humankind with the sole intention of avoiding the traditionally destructive events that almost always follow the death of one of our kind. I hereby warn my fellow dragons against contesting this document in the usual way, for doing so will reflect poorly on our reputations in this awakened age. I have been compiling and updating this document off and on for many years, always striving to make my will accurately represent, well, my will. My understanding is that most humans use their wills as instruments of encouragement and revenge, and it seemed like an excellent idea. If I appear to have missed the mark, then please view my efforts charitably, and keep in mind that I take the very long view of things. In addition to designating specific recipients for the many things I have accumulated that will serve a better purpose in other hands, I have made bequests that I hope will foster the development of some of my favorite metahuman characteristics. I have always wished to aid metahumanity in its quest for knowledge, but have been reminded by a friend that I should not deny them the joy of discovering in doing so. Therefore, I have committed certain assets to encourage the most noble endeavor of the human intellect. I have found in my long file that truth is quite often a matter of opinion, and that it is possible for many truths to be held by many people at the same time without one truth being necessarily greater than another. It is my wish to advance the cause of truth in the world only as much as I can advance understanding. The concept that all beings are equal in the eyes of the universe, regardless of their appearance or origins, without concern for their beliefs, goes against millennia of human history in which slavery, torture, and murder were the order of the day for those where did not conform to the will of the state. More amazingly, still is that a nation founded upon such a radical principle was able to survive and prosper. Therefore, I have committed certain aspects to honor the revolutionary dream that sparked a vision of a world where justice prevailed for all. Bequests. To Nadja Devier, my faithful translator and assistant, keeper of my hopes and dreams for the future, who spoke for me to millions around the world, I leave the bulk of my estate, save for those items named in this will. I name Nadja Devier the executor of my estate and chairman of the Draco Foundation, in which capacity she will appoint a board of trustees to oversee the execution of this will in accordance with my wishes. To Akira Kageyama, I leave my Vancouver condoplex and the monies in the trust fund established in his name. After much research and hundreds of bags of burned nuke and pop, I leave 20 million nuyen to the holder of this patent for the 20th century process that produced popcorn capable of being popped over an open flame. This is the dragon's method of choice. I believe it was called Speedy Pop or Quick Pop or something similar. The patent holder must use this money to renew the patent and resume production. Because we who occupy the physical world do not live here alone, the Draco Foundation is directed to establish the Astral Space Preservation Society. The goals of the ASPS are as follows: to monitor potential abuses of astral space and its denizens, to protect the rights of denizens of astral space, to establish a set of parameters that will facilitate a working relationship between spirits and meta-humanity, and finally, to create a sanctuary in astral space for beings in search of a safe retreat. The ASPS will be administered by the Dunkelzahn Institute of Magical Research, DIMR, in cooperation with any and all free spirits interested in joining the project. You wanted to do the next one? Okay.
Scoot. Let me try. This one, right?
Yeah.
To vision crafters, I leave the sum of 20 million yuan for research into advanced optics. For research into magical phenomena considered dangerous to meta-humanity, such as the... what is this?
Fovea. I don't know.
Such as the fovea in Iceland and the resin trade in Chicago. I leave 4 million yuan to be in... Oh my god, I think I fell.
Where?
Huh?
Where are you at?
Here.
To be administered by the Draco Foundation. Okay, keep going.
To Marcus Denabium, I leave the small token of my esteem to be distributed by the Draco Foundation. For the establishment of Asian Wisdom Fund for Education, I leave 10 million yuan. This fund will offer scholarships to students in scientific and technological fields and will be administered by a board of trustees appointed by the Draco Foundation. Has been okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I offer ownership of the first key of power to the government of either Tanguri or Turnog, whichever nation first publicly discloses the complete personal histories of all of its high government officials. This disclosure must be supervised by the Draco Foundation in accordance with my instructions. Spiratno Tirman Peras Halon Spirathial. Some elvish bullshit.
To Aiden, I leave the Shroud of Shadows. May its shade cool the heat of your desert homes. Desert, right?
Yeah.
Desert home, as well as the tempers that flare around it. In order to reduce the number of innocent bystanders who die each day as a result of security officers firing on criminals, I leave a fine prick of
Oraculum
to either Lone Star or Knight Errant, whichever first developed an inexpensive, effective, non-lethal stun technology accurate at 100 meters. In memory of John Timmons, my first voice to the people of the 21st century, who died because of hatred and misunderstanding. I leave 12 million nuyen to create the John Timmins Memorial Foundation for the Advancement of Equality. This organization, headed by a board to be appointed by my executor, will advance the cause of equal rights for all peoples, regardless of physical appearance, beliefs, or origin.
To Newsnet, I leave 2 million nuyen for an investigation into the circumstances of my death, whatever they may be, and the production of a comprehensive documentary on the events surrounding my demise. To Lorelei Angel, whose voice is like that of the stars, I know from our conversations that you have no further need for my wealth. So I leave 3 million nuyen to be donated in your name to the charity of your choice.
For the study of magic in all its aspects, I earmark 100 million nuyen for establishing the DIMR. The Tracker Foundation will appoint a management team to consist of one member from each of the following: MITNT, the Atlantean Foundation, the Native American Nations, Tinana, the University of Chicago, the universities competing in Southern California, and the People's University in Berkeley. The Lazando Institute, the Oxford Royal College of Magicians, and my own friend Arwen, also known as the Scribe.
Yeah. For purposes of research, I leave my body to the Dunkelzahn Institute of Magical Research. To Yakashima Technologies, I leave the sum of 150 million yen to be used for biotechnology research and the development of products to benefit people around the world. To Aithne Oak Forest, I leave the rose crystal in hopes of soothing old wounds and healing the rifts they may have caused.
To the first party that developed a species of plant hardy enough to flourish in and eventually clean the smog choke atmospheres of such cities as Techno Thailand, I leave 20 million nuyen. I leave 100,000 nuyen for each and of the following people to be rescued from the Chicago containment zone: James Delaney, Dr. Edwin Oden,
Gregory Armtwister, Protacchio Corone, Catherine Sitsu, Cecil McCarthy.
You're next too.
To Brooke Higginbotham, I leave my controlling interest in the Pleasure Dome Hotel and Palm Springs CFS and the condition that he stay at Ubehabe Crater in the Mojave Desert from one full moon to the next. To Alamis, I leave the fruitcake we have exchanged every Christmas since 2020. Unlike you, I'm really dead. To the party who finds the bones of the dragon skeleton, for which I possess the head, I offer two options. You may keep the bone, or turn them over to the Draco Foundation for a reward. All discoveries must be independently verified as dragon bones, such identification to be made by any living dragon. The Draco Foundation will assemble all pieces of the skeleton it receives and display the result at the Smithsonian Institution for the edification of the general public. My admittedly incomplete research indicates the following coordinates as likely locations for the dragon bones: latitude 41 degrees, longitude 125 degrees, latitude 4150 N, longitude 87 degrees 45 west, latitude 47 degrees 21 north, longitude 122 degrees 12 west, latitude 19 degrees 24 north, longitude 99 degrees 9 west, latitude 65 degrees, longitude 130 degrees, latitude 39 degrees 44 N, longitude 104 degrees 59 west.
To Army Park, I leave the title to the Bonnie Building in appreciation for the best burgers in the California Free State. Should I read these?
Yeah.
Attention to any and all persons capable of discovering where the rock meets the sky. The 2 million known amulets and weapons at that place are yours for the keeping, provided that you accomplish this task described in the enclosed data chips within 1 year of my demise. The enemy will accompany you to make sure the job is done properly, because the endeavor is of special personal interest to me. I have taken numerous precautions to assure its completion.
To Rio Mio, the first of our kind to be seen in this modern age, I leave my envy at stealing my chance to be the very first dragon, as well as the ring Ouroboros, since it is the early bird who catches the worm. I leave 1 million nuyen to any group or individual who ensures the safe return of Mary Beth Tyre to her home. Mary Beth was kidnapped April 30th, 2051, just after her 6th birthday. She was last seen in Roanoke, Virginia. Her survival is critical. To any person born on December 8th, 1980, present yourself to the Draco Foundation at any time, and the Foundation will grant you one wish. This century should mourn for the losses of that century. In the name of the misguided six, I give 250,000 nuyen to establish a fund to assist victims of magical crimes, as well as their families and loved ones. On.
Yeah, you mean I need to read?
Well, you don't have to.
I leave 500,000 nuyen to the American Association for the Advancement of Cemetery to educate the public about the nature of magic. Magic and science are equal parts of humanity's heritage, and there need be no quarrel between them. To Robert Jr. Hermides, I leave a small token of my esteem to be distributed by the Draco Foundation. To any person who can prove he or she shook hands with John F. Kennedy, present yourself to the Draco Foundation at any time, and the Foundation will grant you one wish. He seems like a nice person.
To Beatrice Welder of Paris, I leave my mountain retreat at Ricon near Zurich. May it give you the solitude you seek. To any person who possesses a ticket stub to Maria Mercurial's only foray into country music, performed at my brother's place in the Nashville Sprawl, present yourself to the Draco Foundation at any time, and the Foundation will grant you one wish. I believe the saying, be careful of what you wish for, you may as well get it. To Robert Conding, I leave my Weeping Stone of Tabao and the optical chip labeled BK924 found in the second drawer of my writing desk at my residence in Toronto. To Sean Laverty, I leave my estate in Tir-Tair-Gire. The garden there is quite beautiful, and I hope that it will remain so. To George Locomotive Fenimore, wherever he is at present, I sadly bequeath the locked steel box number 412 from my private vault at the Manhattan Citibank Depository. The box is not to be opened until he deems it absolutely necessary, or until my comrade manages to successfully survive another Double Tuesday. I pray the darkness ends for you someday.
To the executor of my will, Najadavia, I grant full disposition of the other 15 boxes marked for the George Fenimore or his descendants, should any of them ever ask. If not upon your own demise, they are to be summarily destroyed unopened in the main microwave blast furnace of the Bethlehem Steel Pa.
To Bethlehem Steel, I leave 2 million yen for the purpose of the immediate destruction of 15 steel boxes unopened when and if they are delivered to the main furnace crew boxes. And an additional amount of 500,000 yen to the crew boss as danger money to be distributed to his crew in the event of injuries resulting from this task. If the task is accomplished without mishap, the crew boss may keep the full amount or disperse it as he wishes. To Alakia, I leave the ever-living flower. I have no more uses for it. To the first party to develop a self-motivational robotic unit that meets the specifications laid out by the Draco Foundation, I leave 10 million yen for the continued research. To David Lloyd Ford, I leave 2.5 million yen to be used to continue his ministry. May such faith always enlighten the world. To Buttercup of Yamatsu Corporation, I leave my complete collection of comic books with respect for our mutual appreciation of the art form. Not manga, I know, but you could stand to develop a taste for some of the classics on my dear. Just use the middle mouse wheel.
Where you're at?
Right here.
No.
To Casey Williams, I leave 4 million yen. Good hunting.
To the first 1,000 sinless metahumans to show up at the Seattle offices of the Traco Foundation at 10 a.m. on the 12th of October, 2058. I bequeath 1 valid sin apiece. A piece?
A piece.
To Dr. Miles Swinburne, I leave my antique tarot deck. May you benefit from the insight it can offer you. To Captain Chaos, I leave the encrypted file Jack B. Nimble. Whatever rewards it reveals are yours. I had no success trying to describe this thing, but I've always believed it contains some communication from another world. Of course, I could be wrong. I've also notified the Traco Foundation to provide for your well-being in the event the file deals you debilitating injury.
To the Dunkelzahn's Institute of Magical Research, I leave 1 year's worth of talent clippings. To Mothers of Metahumans, I leave 1 million yen to continue their valuable work in promoting social acceptance of metahuman children born to human parents. By loving and accepting your different offspring, you have shown wisdom that all of us would do well to emulate. To Norakia Ikeda, I leave a small token of my esteem to be distributed by the Draco Foundation.
To Carla Brooks, my skill security advisor and aide. I leave the dagger Worm's Tooth along with the sum of 5 million yen. I hope you will continue to serve my estate as well as you served me. To Eddie Samuelson, I leave the deeds to my La Bella Italia restaurants in New York, Prince Edward Island, and Lake Louise. Thanks for picking up the tab one last time. To Darius Venizelos, curator and scholar, Zamis Cafanderist of the Great Occult Museum, I leave steel box number 212, which contains the ancient bronze blade that I have dubbed the Spear of Destiny. Whether or not the name applies is for them to prove or disprove. Personally, I have never quite had the time to find out. To further encourage an end to the use of blood magic by AZ Technology, and other parties, I offer a bounty of 1 million nuin on any plot mages captured alive and delivered to Dunkelzahn Institute of Magical Research for the purposes of studying the effects of plot magic used on meta-humanity. I further authorized the Tracker Foundation to prove suitable rewards for the receipt of verifiable accounts of plot magic use, the rewards to reflect the usefulness of the information provided.
To Wuxing Incorporated, I leave the sum of 200 million new yen as per our previous agreement. To Yi Chan, I leave the Tome of Terrain. To Damien Knight, I leave my antique chess set, except for the Black King piece. I hope you find another worthy opponent. It was only 60 seconds, old friend, but what a ride. To Gaotronics Seattle Laboratories, I leave 250 million new yen for the purpose of research, and to Mr. Don Crowfeather's treatise on the relationship between mana and nuclear energy. To Derek Erding, I leave the Banner of the Red Dragon. Out of respect for his heritage, use it well. To the corporations and governments of the world, I leave the formula for an infant vaccination that should be administered to all children born after 31 October 2060. To Dr. Alan Gordon, I leave my first folio edition of Al Asif. Use it well when and if you must.
To the first party to identify the victim in the accompanying photo and bring his 5 perpetrators to justice, I leave the access codes to property in Paris. The Tracker Foundation will release the codes upon receipt and verification of a complete account of the investigation, including the fate of the victim and the perpetrators. To Aaron the Scribe, I leave my library of rare first editions, including my Shakespeare's folios. To Joan H. Capozzaco of AZ Technology, I leave the contents of the sealed box Hill in Trust at the Houston Premier Bank. It must be opened on the first day of next Festival de Moedos to occur in Iceland. Though legally banned, we both know the festival will still occur. I swear on my name that the box and its contents pose no danger to you or AZ Technology. Do not disobey these instructions, or the results could not be unfortunate. To Universal Omnitech, I leave the sum of 120 million nuin to continue their research in genetics and bioengineering. To the band Shield Wand, I leave 10 million nuin for the completion of their rock opera, The Mother of the Sea. To Federated Boeing, the land and mineral rights to the volcanic island that will erupt to 301 kilometers due west of Petrolia on October 3rd, 2060.
To Dagny Tuyarwatsky Skorinsen, I leave the sim chip cataloged as Epoch of Blood, located in my private vaults as at Vision Quest. Can you scooch over? To the United Talismongers Association, I leave the node N8 Nokovad 0789, all associated hardware and software, and my contract for the support of etheric computing services. Should UTA not have bought the Matrix monocle onto the market by 1st January 2060, this bequest will revert to Xerxes Positive Research Tank's Mendocino Laboratory. To Fionnuala O'Donnell, I leave my Chivas Regal bag full of gold pieces. Not quite the standard, I know, but a whole potful seemed excessive. To Helena Rossum, 10 million nuyen, and my sincerest apologies for the hand fate has dealt you this time. In order to discourage the proliferation of toxic shamans, I offer a bounty of 1 million nuyen on any toxic shaman captured alive and delivered to the Dunkelzahn Institute of Magical Research, for the purposes of studying the effects of toxicity on the physical and astral presence of such shaman, and how they in turn impact the physical and astral world. Because I believe that we will not eliminate the poison of toxic shamans until we eliminate the poisons fouling the earth, I further offer substantial research to those parties willing and able to detoxify polluted areas across the globe. Interested parties should contact the Draco Foundation for funds and a description of the conditions accompanying those funds. To the first party to create a perpetual motion device without the aid of magic, I leave heretofore undiscovered notebooks of Leonardo da Vinci. To Smedley Pembrelton III, I leave the Avalon nightclub in Boston and all the deeds and the titles associated with it.
To Henry Hitchens, I leave my bottle of Jaton Lauren 1862 Avantasante Mon Ami. To John Sebrunk, I leave 200,000 yen for the express purpose of attending MIT on the condition that he major in cognitive sciences or thaumaturgical studies. To Hestaby, I leave the encryption key to my private data store on board the Zurich orbital habitat. Use the knowledge you find there as I know that you will. To Leonard Aurelius of Arts Macro Technology, I leave the Black King of my antique chess set. May you prove a worthy opponent. To the Randall Krantz Memorial Scholarship Fund, I leave 1 million yen to further the education of worthy but financially deprived applicants with magic potential. To Inazo Anarchy of Renraku, I leave the seal of the Green Clubs, which will permit you or your proxy to enter Tibet. Use your time there as you will, but do not abuse the privilege, or you will suffer from your misdeeds. To Bob Cardinal, I leave a small token of my esteem to be distributed by the Draco Foundation. To James Telestrio III, I leave the Gainsborough original and Shakespeare's The Tempest, second folio edition, from my collection as proof that all beauty in the world has one true source, but many outlets of expression. To Jaistada Harby, I leave my house in Myers Flat, together with all its defenses. To Jan Foster, I leave you the dragon ring that you wear, a small token from an old worm, as well as my everlasting respect. You are indeed worthy of your heritage, and I hope that you are proof of what is to come for us. To the first Gong community to be legally recognized by the United Nations, I leave 2 million yen to further understanding and tolerance of Gongs as a race and allow them to live in peace with other metahumans. To Chew Taylor, I leave the 20th manual. If you can find it, start in Canada Park.
To the Tokyo Shoe and Nightclub in Seattle, I leave my complete first printing collection of Gojira and related films. Long may your club roar. To Hualpa, who has already achieved so much, I leave the elemental scrolls of Akleer. Though they are not our work, there is much wisdom to be learned from them. May your continued efforts to protect what others would destroy be successful. To Tantian Incorporated, I leave 50 million nuyen and all data relating to my experiences with direct cerebral series linkage. To Jeremy Goldsmith, I leave the recipe to Miss Grundland's peanut butter cookies, as well as related trademarks and copyrights. I hope you enjoyed them as much as I did. To Laura Redfeather, a location unknown, I bequeath one soda firelight. I also assign 1 million nuyen to hire personnel, preferably from Team D, to deliver the firelight to her if she has not surfaced to claim her inheritance before 1 month has passed. To Janet Che, I leave my property near Devil's Hat on the condition that the hills and canyons remained undeveloped. Should any development take place in these lands, the property will immediately revert to the Ute Nation for purposes of establishing a national park. To Matthew Taylor, I leave my vintage 2017 Thunderbird Turbo Coupe. May it amuse you as much as it did me. To Lionel George Astor, I leave the Maltese Falcon in gratitude for having introduced me to the film of the same name. I also leave 30,000 yen for the Friends of Film Noir. I hope your vid-to-sim chip transfer project goes well. To Miles Lanier, head of Fuji Internal Security, I leave 4 million shares of stock in Rinraku Corporation, plus the board seat to which the shares entitle him. To the first party to develop an efficient and effective matrix connection for dolphins, elephants, and or satyrs, and dragons, I leave the access codes to 4 Zurich orbital accounts and a personal visit from La Fourier. To La Fourier, I leave the jewel of memory and a bit of advice. Consider your works and the possibility that, in the eyes of the universe, you are no more or less than any of Earth's creatures. I tried it, and it works wonders. To Toshi Akumura, I leave my property in the French quarters of New Orleans, and access to the trust fund I established in his name. To Manadyne Corporation, I leave the sum of 80 million nuyen to further their magical research in accordance with our standing agreement. To Kara Lazier, I leave 160 million nuyen and the deed to 1428 Elm Street, Phoenix Pueblo Corporate Council. To Niall O'Connor, I salute your devotion to spreading the truth, and so I leave you the Ring of Truth. May it give you the voice of prophecy like the bards of old. To the first party to determine what lies behind the door of room 5B78 of the AS Technology Pyramid in Tenochtitlan and file a report on the findings of Shadowrun, I leave 5 million nuyen in medical care for the remainder of their natural life, whichever seems most appropriate, or medical care for the remainder of their natural life. To Lung, I leave the second coin of luck in hopes that he may benefit from the long view as I have. To Karl Kochvar, I leave the Goodman Theater chain. May your designs grow even larger. To Patrick Bine at the University of Galway, 130 nuyen and apologies for the broken picture window. To Maureen Williams, I leave the trust fund at Silicon Valley Virtual Bank, account 0456967014586620, for the purpose of establishing a free school in Auckland. To James Myers, I leave a small token of my esteem to be distributed by the Draco Foundation. In order to promote harmony among the races, I authorize the Draco Foundation to establish and administer endowments for schools that have successfully created a multiracial learning environment in the most disadvantaged neighborhoods in the following cities: Seattle, New York, Atlanta, Denver, Dallas/Fort Worth, New Orleans, and Milwaukee. To Rebel Enterprise Investments, I leave the sum of 20 million nuyen for their continued investment and growth. To Miela Del Marco, I grant the custody of Morgan Leroy Howell until he reaches his majority age of 18, on the condition that he is to be raised and schooled in the United Canadian American States. If this condition cannot be met, his custody shall return to Kara Lazier. I trust that you will care for him in a fitting manner, and perhaps you shall in return get the son you deserve. To Morgan Leroy Howe, on the occasion of reaching his majority age at 18 years of age on June 28, 2071, I leave all stocks in my Florence portfolio. Until this time, no transactions may take place involving these stocks. Any votes to which these shares are entitled shall be undertaken by Morgan's legal guardian. I also leave 1 million nuyen in a trust fund to be managed by his legal guardian for his care and schooling until his 21st birthday, the remainder of which will transfer to Morgan Howell on his 21st birthday. To the first party to determine what the accompanying photos of Mars 123 taken by NASA just prior to the Ares macro technology buyout represent, and who can prove their theory to the Draco Foundation, I leave 1% interest in Ares. To Maint Zai Industries, I leave all rights and ownership, funds and stock in Proteus subsystems on the condition that Adam Goines is granted the position of co-president/chief executive officer. To the first party to successfully explain the existence, abilities, and origin of the children of the Matrix, known as the Otaku, I leave 5 million nuyen for the continued research into the relationship between mind and machine. To Miss Leslie Lockhart, I leave 800,000 nuyen to be used for her care and schooling, plus copies of all of her mother's SEMs. To Phoenix Biotechnologies, 20 million nuyen for use in your research into behavioral differences between males and females. To Miraco, I leave free reign of the area of astro and physical space within 1 kilometer of the corpse of stunted evergreens on my Prince Edward Island estate. To Abraxas Industries, I leave the sum of 100 million nuyen for their continued investment and growth. To 9 Lives, whom I saw last in the Lucky Strike Tavern on the outskirts of Tacoma, I leave 10,000 nuyen. Here's hoping you'll put this gift to better use than my last one. You simply must learn not to be so careless. To Londa Cannon of Ohio, I leave my personal autographed picture of Elvis on board the mothership. I hope she draws the same inspiration and conclusions as I. To the first party to develop successful communication between metahumanity and dolphins, elephants, and or satyrs, I leave 40 million nuyen and their choice of any of my Cayman Islands. To Richard Valiers of Fuji Corporation, I leave my shares in Fuji Corporation for him to do with as he pleases. To Pierre Weir, I leave the remainder of my music collection. I have a great deal of appreciation for anyone who prefers to hoard beauty and art, for they are the greatest treasures we have. Okay, I need about a 1 minute break here. That is a really long will. Holy crap. Okay. To Mina Graf Belliot or her oldest living descendant, I leave the promissory notes for sums owed to Vision Quest by various wholly owned subsidiaries of Sadier Krupp. To Richard Edmund Red Thompson, I leave the title to the customized GMC Riverine Delta Devil. The craft is already in his possession. To Bradley Beavers, I leave a small token of my esteem to be distributed by the Draco Foundation. To the first party to create a cure for any of the current strains of flu, especially the rare and deadly dragon flu, I leave half my stock in the Fort Howard Bristol Myers Squibb Corporation. To Reliable Imaging, I bequeath 300,000 nuyen to resume funding of the multi-phased SIMRIG project. To Lucien Cross of Cross Applied Technologies, I leave the undiscovered Da Vinci entitled Seraphim. To Seattle-based Tridio Station KSAF, 4 million nuyen to be used expressly for the purpose of hiring freelancers, 12 million nuyen to be used for the purpose of increasing security, and 10 million nuyen to be used as a slush fund. Those monies must be used before New Year's Eve 2059, or the remainder shall revert to my estate. Also, the contents of the bookshelves in my bedroom in Maine, along with instructions on the order for which they should be read. To the first to successfully invent an artificial mechanism capable of producing and sustaining a magical effect with no assistance from a living magician or spirit, I leave 8 million yen for additional research into the fusion of magic and technology. To Sharon Chiang Wu, I leave the third coin of luck. If the owners of the bas-relief sculptures commonly known as the Pre-Bronze Age cave reliefs 1 through 12 will bring these pieces to the Museum of Modern Art, the current assistant curator of the sculpture collection will prove that these 12 pieces can be assembled into a single work. In return, the owners will receive an equal share of all proceeds from the sale of my first and only attempt at free-form sculpture. I must admit, I was very disappointed in the result of this foray into an unfamiliar art form, and I'm afraid I lost my temper and smashed it. Imagine my surprise at finding the pieces being regarded as art. That's pretty funny. To Rowan Abbey, I leave the Silver Songbird, a poor reflection of that most beautiful of voices, but still at a feast for the appreciative ear. To Sierra Incorporated, I bequeath my 17,300 acres of land in Northern California to be used as a reserve for indigenous wildlife. No development may take place on these lands, and no creatures may be removed from them under any circumstances without their express permission. To Tamara Gordon, I leave my collection of Gothic romances. May she find them inspirational. To the government of Amazonia, I leave the Pale Orchard and the ashes of the great tree. Use them to help protect the world from itself, but do not forget the lessons of the past or assume that your wisdom is greater than nature's. To Sophie Yarborough, I leave the Hope Diamond. Please forgive me for never giving you the ring I promised, but circumstances conspired against us. Do not fear the supposed curse this stone carries, for which we share is strong enough to overcome the accumulated years of fear and greed impressed upon this precious battle. You were often in my thoughts and dreams. To the first party to fully explain the basis for magical ability in Homo sapiens and provide documented research of their discoveries, I leave 10 million yen to further the world's understanding and advancement of humanity's magical capabilities in general. To Sierra Incorporated, I leave 2 million yen to aid them in protecting the environment from exploitation. To the first party to spend 24 hours in Glamis Castle during a full moon, I leave this castle, its furnishings, and the grounds historically associated with it. Good things of day begin to droop and drowse, while night's black agents to their praise do ruse. To Theodore Winslow of Lone Star Security Systems, I leave an antique sheriff's badge worn by Wyatt Earp a reminder that this is not the shootout at the OK Coral. To the Atlantean Foundation, I leave 5 million yen to further their search for the truth. I also leave the finger bone of St. Dunstan, the real one, as a reminder that truth is not always easy to separate from fiction. To the first party to capture and successfully breed Ecuadorian honey ants, I leave 8 million yen for the expansion of the breeding program. To Silvery K, I leave my private can opening program. You know where to find it in the Matrix, and the IC has been programmed to accept your ID in the event of my death. Have fun, and I am so very glad I won't be here to see what you do with it. To the Technology Corporation, I leave the Sexton of Worlds with the provision that the corporation and the government of Aztlan ban the practice of blood magic in territories under their jurisdiction within 1 year of my death, and submit to an outside investigation to verify this ban. The investigator to be designated by and answerable to the Draco Foundation. Do you want to read?
I didn't know you used Sam this way. Oh my god.
Oh, okay, read. My throat hurts. Too much will.
To the bearer of scene 5T2G 28U6V PKO2. present yourself to the Traco Foundation on any Wednesday between 10 and 10:13 a.m., 10 and 10:15 a.m., and the Foundation will grant you one wish. This offer stands good for 1 year from the day of my death. I believe the saying is, be careful what you wish for. You may well get it. To long sure hand, I leave the torque of Rhiannon. May you wear it in your good health and your land prospereth thereby. To the first party to find my lair in Caucasus Mountains, I leave its contents, including clues to the location of my 2 other lairs. In the third lair, you will find a plain brown scroll case. Return the case to Traco Foundation unopened, and you will receive my lucky precious food. May it bring you on the good fortune it brought me. To the current head Hogan of the Caribbean League, I leave 1 year's worth of talent clippings. To the daughters of my circle, I leave the onyx unicorn in the hope that they will find its true owner. If they found to do so within a year of my death, ownership reverts to the Traco Foundation. To Holy Brinton, my dear friend and one of the most exceptional humans, it has been my pleasure to know. I leave ownership of Lake Louise and the Vision Quest Virtue Theme Park and its subsidiary companies and support services. It is my wish that she continues to reside there as she has done these past years. To David Dollinger, I leave a small token of my esteem to be distributed by the Traco Foundation. To the elusive TX, Texas, whom I know exists, I leave 10 million yen on the condition that she come in from the shadows and report to the UCAS government for testing and training. I give her full assurances that she will not be harmed. I further authorize my executor to rent this same sum to any person or group of people who find TX and bring her, alive or undamaged, to any UCAS military on installation. I authorize an additional 10 million yen for the hiring of qualified individuals to escort her safely home and, if necessary, to avenge any mistreatment of her with extreme prejudice. To the first company to create edible synthetic flesh for goals, I leave 2 million yen with which to develop a complete and diverse product line. To Melody Tiger, I leave the sum of 10 million yen to complete and fund the performance of her Fearful Symmetry World Tour. Your words ring true, making them most worthy to be heard. Let no one silence you. To the first party to determine what lies behind the door of Ren, 1835 in the Renfrew Archaeology in Seattle, and report the findings to the Traco Foundation, I leave 5 million yen. To Tragward Nakan, I leave 3 million yen for the express purpose of continuing his research on the effects of mana on Latin autosomes, on the condition that he publicly release his findings. To the first party establish a self-sustaining community of no fewer than 100 persons on the ocean floor, I leave 5 million yen. To Chenani Farah, I leave the Book of Leaves. Those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. According to humans, if that is true, it seems likely, then perhaps it is time we all learned. Massachusetts Institute of Technology and Thaumaturgy, I leave all books copyrighted before 1960 from my New York library. To the first party to revitalized these three species of flora or fauna currently near extinction and successfully returned them to their native environment, or successfully adapt those species to a new environment. I leave 30 million NUN and funds for further research to be provided by the Draco Foundation. To Maria Mercurio, I leave my collection of vintage jazz or blues albums. May it bring you as much enjoyment as your music has always brought me. To Wu Longwei, I leave Jade Dragon of Wind and Fire. To the first party who successfully cultivates the Brazilian kiwi outside its native environment, I leave 10 million NUN and funds for further research to be provided by the Draco Foundation. To the government of the United Canadian and American States, I leave the Tapestry of Fate to hang in the home of President as a reminder of fate's power to change our lives. To the Gunderson Corporation of Miami, I leave the present CEO of my preferred stock in the company to be disposed as he or she wishes, with the condition that the work continues without pause per our verbal agreement of the 17th July 2056. And I add my personal wish of good luck. To the first party to discover what lies behind the door of room 429 of the Sadie corrupt offices in Berlin and report the findings to Laurie, I leave the horror of red dragon slaying. To crash centers, such as I leave a small token of my esteem to be distributed by the Draco Foundation. For a period of 10 days beginning on 14 February 2057, Lars G. Matthews will cease to possess any legal status. He will be stripped to all evidence of legal existence, including scene, crestics, dog wagon, contract, bank accounts, and so on. To the individual or groups who ends Lars G. Matthews' physical existence during those 10 days, I leave all Matthews' assets and 1 million NUN for a job well done. If Matthews survives and can prove his identity, his legal status and all possessions will be restored to him. Haven't you heard? Never deal with a dragon, Lars. To the Joseph Campbell Mythology Society, I leave 500,000 NUN to continue keeping the work and dreams of Professors Campbell alive. To the most direct descendants of either Howard Carter or George Herbert, Fifth Earl of Cavendish, whichever shows up first, I leave the nose of the great Sphinx of Giza. To the Mountain Dragons Urban Prawn team, I leave ownership of the franchise to the team members and their manager to be divided equally among them. You have consistently amazed me with your spirit and tenacity. To the first party to successfully grow cactus on the ocean floor and produce an arc of wheat in low orbit, I leave you 20 million NUN. To Terry and Ribeiro, I leave ownership of wheat station KZH and in Los Angeles, CFS, and all of my stock in Mega Media, Trillion Genesis Studios, and Amalgamated Studios. I further leave an additional 20 million NUN to Miss Ribeiro for the production of a film biography of modern life and times. Terry, you have always been a speaker of the truth as well as a crafter of dreams, and I hope that you will continue to do both in the future. To the New Wine Fellowship, I leave the lands and buildings of Crusader Trot. Church. To the owner of the Sky Blue Chrysler Nissan Trek Rabbit that was crushed by a falling truck of Plascret on October 26, 2045. I leave my 1964 a half of candy apple red Ford Mustang convertible. Sorry for the inconvenience. I had an inch that I couldn't reach and caught the corner of the building with my claw. To the meta-agronomic divisions of Yamatetsu, I leave Mountain King Engineering that both may benefit from effects of serendipity. To what is that word? Patriarch of the Russian Orthodox Church. I leave Gong Filigree, an enema box containing Rasputin's heart. Rasputin's. It's like the Russian president's name. Putin's.
Different Putin, but yeah.
Yeah. To the people of the UCAS, I leave Prince Edward Island and my estate, Therion, including necessary monies to maintain my estate in perpetuity as a public park. Ownership of the island will revert to its residents.
Do you want to keep going at me?
You.
Okay, that's good.
Just one like though.
Mm-hmm. To Zora Entertainment, I leave 3 million nuyen for expansion of its recording studios and marketing of its labels.
To the provisional government of Yucatan, I leave 3 million nuyen in the hope that they will succeed in the struggle for freedom.
Yucatan. To Xerxes Positive Research Tank, specifically in Mendocino Laboratory, I leave Neptune's Net.
To Keda of the Lake Louise Centers, I leave the meadows and forests in which you people live. Take care of them, own friend.
To the Shadowland Nexus, I leave ownership and control of certain Matrix LTG sites, the locations and passcodes and titles of which you already have already been transmitted to you under my electronic signature. You have indeed taken all knowledge to be your province, and the world has profited greatly thereby. Use these resources wisely, that it may continue to do so.
To the sisterhood of Adrian, I leave 1 year's worth of talent clippings.
He really likes giving people talent clippings.
Yeah.
To Arsleash, who I know has no use for things of this world, I leave the hope that your efforts will be successful. You will have the complete cooperation of the Draco Foundation when it is needed for your work.
To the University of Cheney, I leave 100,000 nuyen and a detailed map of the archaeological sites near the town of Oribi.
I don't know.
Excavate with care.
To Thomas Nolan, I leave my home outside of Vancouver and the land surrounding it. I believe you will find the library well stocked and the security adequate.
To Aina, my dear friend who has served us so, I leave the most important thing that I have to offer, hope, which I just distribute to everyone. Hope for change, hope for life, and hope for beauty. It is a rare quality in this day and age, and perhaps the most valuable thing that I have to offer. I urge you to join the Dragon Foundation and so take small steps towards rejoining the world. Hope need no longer be an endangered species.
To Jan Peterson of Sadir Krupp Aerospace, I leave promissory notes for sums owed to me personally by the Vice President of Russia Corporation, a Shiawase subsidiary.
To Oliver McClure of Quebec City, I leave my voting stock in AZ Technology and the board seat to which that entitles you. It was refreshing to find such a thoroughly honest man making an inadequate living in these times that make such a thing so difficult. I hope that you will prove to be a good influence on the board, and perhaps remind them of surpassing brightness of the meta-human soul.
To Sururg the Destroyer, though we have never understood one another, I respect your conviction. Because I know you value nothing else of mine, I leave you with my respect and that alone.
I leave Gavelian Ventures to Naja Davia, and appoint her acting head of that corporation. I also leave to my dear friend a sealed envelope containing the details of my 7-year plan for this asset.
To Arthur Vogel, I leave my seat on the board of Ares Macrotechnology. Read every report to which you are entitled, and judge the effects of the corporation's actions with an opened mind. I believe you will see the fundamental error of the toxic way. Carry on the good fight, this time in earnest.
To Clan Dudley, I leave a small token of my esteem to be distributed by the Trackle Foundation.
To Lady Brandaig, I leave you a set of path cards, antique path cards. May they help to illuminate your wisdom in the days ahead and place you in touch with the past you hold so dear.
To Torisho Mitsuhama of Mitsuhama Computer Technologies, I leave an ancestral katana forked by the master swordsmith Matsumuni. May its quality remind you of the value of art and beauty, coupled with the qualities of honor, courage, and loyalty.
To the Upper Sandusky Magicians Society, I leave 25 million yen to fulfill the following requests according to the instructions provided here. The Draco Foundation will provide the USMS a list of my 5 favorite ally spirits, one at a time, and a list of 5 individuals. The Society must summon each of these spirits and command it to perform a specific task as defined below. To protect the rights of the spirits, the summoning magician must agree to submit to a dose of Laius, to be administered by a representative of the Draco Foundation immediately following the summoning. At the end of its service, the ally spirit will be allowed to go free.
An ally spirit will inhabit the cat owned by Modi Crander for 1 year, a period of time that represents Miss Crander's current life expectancy. The spirit will provide companionship to Miss Crander, who already believes that cat talks to her. This arrangement will simply make her belief come true. May your final days be peaceful, Monty. You deserve a little peace.
An ally spirit will use its accidental power against terror bills 3 times a week for a period of 1 year. If she survives, perhaps she will learn compassion for those in the ambulances she is so fond of chasing. And don't worry, you'll make new friends after a few years have passed.
An ally spirit would use its binding power to prevent Hogwarts Faulkner from walking away from his wife, his mother-in-law, his employees, and all others whose opinions and advice he has been ignoring for years. Learn humility. Howie, your track record for making effective decisions on your own isn't so great. There are certain things you need to accomplish in this life, and you're obviously not going to do them on your own. Learn to take advantage of your assets.
An ally spirit will use its alienation power on Sir David Meyerhoff for a period of 7 weeks.
An ally spirit will maintain a constant telepathic link with Stefan Ruloff for a year and a day. The spirit will provide any and all assistance allowed by this power and required by Mr. Ruloff during this time. In addition, the spirit will provide an update every 20 minutes of its current positions and the events and the people under its observation. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
To Enrico Hernandez, I leave the pictures in my safe deposit box at the Glendale branch of Angeles Fidelity Bank. To the first party to track down the Russian crown jewels, I leave the treasure except for the scepter and crown, which the Draco Foundation will return to the descendants of its original owners. According to my research, the jewels were smuggled from the country inside a spinet piano, one of 9 belonging to the royal palace. The jewels were not in the 4 spinets that I have acquired. There are 3 more that I have been unable to track down, and 2 currently in the possession of private collectors.
To the gypsies of Northern California, I ask that they appear at Shasta Dam on the 21st June 2058, at which time HSW will distribute ownership rights to land from my California holdings, on which they may permanently settle. To Abigail Saxon, I bequeath 1 dozen red roses from the New Zealand Horticultural Complex to be hand-delivered to her residence each week for the rest of her natural life. Maybe now, you damn shaman, you will believe that I never forget a promise, or that, though how you produced that 4th ace without the aid of major magic is completely beyond my understanding of the game.
To the People's University of the California Free State, I leave the access code to a matrix location I think you will find quite useful. My sincerest best wishes for your continued success and existence. To Lawrence Edward Grafton, I leave a stipend of 50,000 yen annually for as long as he stays chaste. Good luck! To the parties of the Draco Foundation, agrees have achieved breakthroughs in the inventions necessary to successful deep space living and travel. I leave 50 million yen each for continued research. To Art Dankwalther, I leave the sum of 34,586,224,739.58 in UCAS dollars. According to my calculations and accounting for conversion of the original currency, inflation, and 1% interest per annum, that settles my debt to your ancestor for the gold piece he kindly lent me for the last meal we shared. That's funny.
Where you're at? To Chelsea?
Yeah.
To Chelsea and Miller, I leave the antidote label DDE2, currently stored in my office refrigerator at Gavelian Ventures. You will know when to use it. Beginning in February of 2058, the Dragon Foundation will sponsor 2 annual competitions for the purpose of advancing the frontiers of knowledge, with an emphasis on practical applications. These competitions will be open to the public, with no entrance fee and no formal qualifications required. Winners will receive a patent established in their name by the Draco Foundation, and additional resources for developed if applicable.
The first competition, time and date to be announced, will judge magical innovations, including but not limited to such categories as spell design, magical theory, magical objects, and astral exploration. The second competition will judge technological innovations, including but not limited to such categories as rigor technology, space technology, matrix technology, medical technology, and cybernetics. This competition will take place roughly every 6 months after the first competition. To Bradley Smith, we're almost over. I leave a token of my esteem to be distributed by the Draco Foundation. To Vlad Kirkio, I leave my open-ended pass to Virtual World Disney. I'm glad we bumped into each other there last fall, and I hope you've recovered from your broken collarbone. It's a small world after all. Okay, you want to do the last 2?
I read this and then we read these together.
Whatever.
To Ranthuser, I leave my heart, which you will find at my Lake Louise residence. to the last night of the
crying
spire,
I
leave the result of armor worn by Richard the Lion-hearted on his crusade.
Because it's up to you to lead the next one. I also
leave you the sword Excalibur. Unfortunately, I can't seem to find it any moment. To whomever finds Excalibur, deliver it to the Draco Foundation for reward and title. The Draco Foundation will promptly turn the sword over to you, my knight.
Oh, sorry. Attachments. Let's see if how referent this is. These are the photos referred to in my will. The text that appears on the Mars photo is a little bit murky, but so it's reproduced beneath each photo for your edification. Captain Chaos. NASA security probe. Ares Space, Project Cydonia. NASA Sentry probe. To the first party to identify the victim in the accompanying photo and bring his 5 perpetrators to justice, I leave the access code to my property and payers. Okay, yeah, that took a while. 1 hour, 15 minutes. Any final comments?
It's so long. He said that hope is one of the valuable things that he need to share to someone, but then he shared that to everyone.
Sorta?
It's like, oh, I just can't just share you the hope of this, just to one, to you only. But then he just do the hope to everyone.
I'm not sure he did.
Did what?
Give hope to everybody.
Most of the people, like 1/3 or at least half or at least 1/3.
Yeah, well, he gave free stuff to everybody. He didn't really give hope. He gave a lot of plot hooks. Like, for instance, all David needs to do is, like, look at this will and be like, oh, the will said something about a mansion. I guess you guys are going to go run the mansion then and try to claim it for yourself by living, 24 hours in it? Or whoever finds out what's behind door number 2 gets 5 million new yen. Or permanent medical care, because it probably defeated them. Yeah, so that's probably why no one's ever done this before, really. But, yeah, I hope it entertains you guys out there on YouTube. Once again, if you want to, read along, well, it's probably too late for that, but you can find the will on shadowrun.wikia.com/wiki/Dunkelzahn's will with the apostrophe and an underscore between Dunkelzahn's and will. But aside from that, thanks for watching, and I guess I'll catch you guys in my future videos.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.